Hi, my name is Lisa and welcome to my YouTube channel. Are you stuck in an everyday makeup rut? Like you open your makeup bag and just can't be bothered anymore? But here's the thing, you don't need to overhaul everything, you just need to update how you're doing your everyday look. This Surratt palette and one Chanel lip pulled me out of that exact rut, because 2026 is about warmth, dimension, and that expensive, I didn't try look. And it's honestly easier than what you've been doing. Let me show you. If you enjoy my content, I'd love it if you would subscribe to my channel. Okay, so for 2026 skin, the trend is cloud-like skin. So we've seen the wet look, glossy skin, focus on the glazed donut look, where your skin is kind of completely wet looking. And now for 2026, it's more refined, it's more glow in intentional areas that you position it and mattifying any oily T-zone areas if you're like me and you have combination skin. So basically the just most ideal look I can imagine. It's sophisticated glow. And to achieve that, we're going to use foundation. So I've got the Clé de Peau, the foundation, which is my favourite. But you need something that isn't high coverage, something that has a buildable coverage, or a skin tint like the Lisa Eldridge skin tint that we've used in other videos. And I'm going to sheer it out a little bit with a moisturiser. So I've got the new Victoria Beckham Augustina Spader collab, and it's in the shade Golden. I've had the shade Rose in the past, but this time I thought I'd try Golden. So I'm going to literally mix the two together on using the back of my hand as a palette, and then sheer it out all over the skin. Start to place that on my face, only very lightly as it is. This is the Lisa Eldridge buffing brush that she's released with her skin tints, because I just want it to be very sheer, and then I'm really, really lightly tapping that all over my face, because to start off with, you just want an incredibly sheer base that you can just start to build on. For this new kind of cloud-like skin, I'm going to use the NARS Soft Matte Concealer. I've got two shades here, Cafe Con Leche and Marron Glacé. So I use both of those. One's the Marron Glacé is more of a kind of peachy tone, which helps cancel out the darkness, and then the Cafe Con Leche is more sort of my skin tone. I mix the two, I get a really nice combination of colour correction and concealer. So I'm just going to lightly use this Pat McGrath concealer brush, and then I'm just going to very, very lightly, like feather-like touch, apply some concealer in the darkest areas of my eye. I'm going to use the Gucci Westman contour stick in Biscuit, cold shade. Nothing dramatic contour-wise, just very lightly, very subtly, just giving my face some of its dimension back, having erased it with all the concealer and foundation. And just lightly under the cheekbones. Just doing it literally where the hollow of my cheekbone is, and slightly above. I'm just going to very lightly contour around the top of my lip. Just buff that out. Blurred lips are the trend of 2026 for lips, so that's what we're going to be doing for the foreseeable. And then just underneath your lip, not all the way to the edge, and just blend that out. The Dolce & Gabbana bronzer, face and eyes match, lasting bronzer and eyeshadow powder in light medium. Tapping and then just lightly applying. First of all, I'm going to do my neck just to get that back into the same postcode as my face, colour tone wise. The neck's always so deathly looking. So I use a powder brush for this. This is a Suicune powder brush, and we're just going to first of all concentrate at the outer areas of the face. So again, lightly touching face powder, and then I'm going to start up here in the hairline to begin with. So I want to bring this area into a darker shade, so that again I'm starting to create dimension. To apply in small circular motions. This year is all about seamless blending. We're not going to see any harsh lines. I'll have to deal with my little friend here later. So I'm just blending, 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 blending. Keep going, don't keep adding product. Use the product that's on the brush. So let's just do this side of my face and then we can have a look to see the difference. Got some face shape going back on. Same on the other side. Now, continuing the dimension, for me, coral peachy tones work the best at this time of year to give me back some life in my skin. So I'm going to use, this is a Hindash palette. It's a Beautopsy pressed pigment palette. Its shades kind of run from different tones so that you can decide where you want to use it, and you can use it on face and eyes, which is really cool. These are matte, these are all matte shades. So I'm going to use this one, which is called Boy and Wonder. I'm going to take some Boy, very lightly, and then very carefully, I'm going to layer it over the bronzer, just at the very, very outer skirts of my face. And this way it will look more believable, because the dimension will kind of really come from the very sort of depth of your face. Here, I'm going to apply a peach shade using a little blush brush. This is a soupy one. Then I'm just going to bring that more on the apples of my cheeks. Keep that quite high. Healthy looking now. You could actually leave it there, couldn't you? You could just put on some a lip and you could just have that as your daytime look. If you're like me and you're older, best to keep it light around powdering in here so that you don't get crusty looking. This is the best one I found, the Laura Mercier Eye Brightening Powder. It looks very white, but it actually kind of is colourless. But it does very much brighten your under eye. Pop that on around your eyes so you don't get any kind of crustiness going on. Gathering of powder, making us look older than we are. Final step is powder. Powder with a powder puff. I've got this one from Boots, and it's just in a nice sort of teardrop shape, and I'm just going to use a powder. This is the La Prairie powder. This is an old one. This is translucent one. I need to get a new one of these, but it's very expensive, so I'll wait for some sort of 20% offer somewhere. And just take some of the powder, use your hand if you want to, and then just very lightly go over the areas that you get oily. I'm just going to apply some highlighter. You need something that is warm and pink and glowing and peachy. This is the Lancôme at the Louvre collection that Lisa Eldridge did, and I'm just going to use this pinky peachy colour because it's so spring-like and exactly what we're after here. Use anything that you've got, and I'm just going to place it on the cheekbone, because I don't want any kind of fine lines to be enhanced, so I'm just using the minimal amount just to get a glow. 2026, eyes are all about warm, dimensional neutrals, and I have this palette, which is a Surratt palette, and it's called Beyond Beige, and it's got 4 absolute stunner shades that really kind of are bang on trend for 2026. It's ballerina peachy pink in this top corner. Underneath it we have a copper shade called Cuivre, and we have next to it the real sort of almost depth and dimension shade that you could use for eyeliner if you wanted to, which is called Brun Noir. Above that we have a transitional shade called Greige. Even though it's called Greige, I think it still leans towards warm than it does grey. So to apply, we're going to really emphasise and enhance the warm dimension look. So to start with, we're going to put Salmon all over the lid. Super creamy, super blendable. The point where they earn their money is in the blending. They basically just do everything for you. I mean, look, you can't even tell that I haven't blended that. And you get so much dimension from the pigments. There's a sort of micro glitter in here. There's a shine in here, a sort of sparkly pigment that has a peach goldy tone to it, which is always really flattering on your eye. Next, we're going to use our finger and tap the copper shade in finger so that you can really build the depth of the pigment. See how warm that is. Just into the centre of the eyelid. Centre of the lid for dimension. Which layered over the top of the salmon shade then just really enhances the beauty of the... I love this copper shade on your eyes because it always, I think, makes you look like, it doesn't really look like eyeshadow, it just looks like your kind of natural colour of your eyes is just that good. A lot better than it actually is. In the next stage, we're going to use the Greige in the crease. Just with a fluffy brush and just blend it very gently. Just to create again more definition. This is where the palette comes into its own with the blendability and why the Surratt formula always sells out. And they're just blending themselves, aren't they? That's looking gorgeous. You can't see at all where I've started that colour and where I've ended it, considering I have no eyeshadow here at all. That's very impressive. Under the eye, I'm going to use this little brush that I forgot to list last time, I'm sorry, but it's the eye contouring brush by Chanel. And I'm just going to use the copper shade underneath the eye. This is such a nifty little brush. It's very firm, very short, bristled, and it lets you contour so quickly. How easy was that? It's mistake proof. And then last step, using the final shade in the palette, the chocolate brown, with a little angled brush as an eyeliner, just to add depth along the lash line. So we definitely don't want to use black here, black would be too harsh. Just go along the inner rim of your eye. Starts making it more cat-like. Which, I can't lie, is my goal in every video. Even if the look's not that. And again, here's a good example of how superior the formula of this eyeshadow is, because I've put that on as a line and it's already blended it for me, which is pretty immense. So I know these eyeshadows are really expensive, but I mean, what I would consider with this is you're going to use every single shade in that. A lot of the time in a palette, you just don't do, you end up using 1 or 2 shades and that's it. This palette, I think I'll use all the shades, all of the time. And I was thinking about it, and I think the Victoria Beckham eyeliner in Cinnamon, given that it's a coppery shade. It looks beautiful with the fact that I put that under my lower lash line. And then just some lip liner, which you're going to put on as if you're doing a blurred lip, so small circles, just underneath the shadow of your lip. And then on my lips I'm going to use this Chanel shade, which is a Coco Flash in the shade Immédiat. But just bring, so that shade is just so life enhancing for your face. Just fill your eyebrows in, very feathery, flat, fluffy. It's not about massive build-in brows, Instagram brows anymore, thank God. So you're just looking for something feathery, quite cool toned, and natural looking. Okay, and that's the finished look. So I really like the way that the coral in the lipstick really complements the copper in the eye and the peach in the cheek. Creates a lovely monochromatic look, which I think always looks modern, whatever the year. And that's the first video for 2026. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.